Hello and welcome to a Gamer's Fireside Chat. Hello, my name is Bizmarc.
Hi, my name's Dante.
And today we're going to be chatting about Bioshock Infinite, which I have played and you haven't.
That is true.
Okay, so it took me about 2 evenings to complete, which is about 6 to 8 hours, roughly.
And that was on hard mode, right?
I was on hard mode, and that's a decent length, I think, don't you think?
Yeah, I do believe so, yeah.
Right, not going to do any spoilers.
Plus I haven't played the game yet.
Plus you haven't played the game yet. So we played it through, and I talked about 3 different elements of the game, which are the game's core mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the FPS is very, very similar to Bioshock 1 and 2. It's pretty much identical sort of layout. The art style's pretty much identical, but instead of like underwater, it's in the air. It's actually quite pretty. It's quite a pretty game. It does a lot with like sunsets and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like it does a lot with the clouds and the way the sun reflects off the clouds.
Would you say it's definitely a graphical enhancement over 1 and 2?
No, I wouldn't say it's an enhancement, because the 1 and 2 kind of sort of focused a lot on it being sort of dark and sort of creepy, and you know, things go out the dark. You know what I mean? Like that sort of element. You know, like the sort of Doom 3-esque way of making a game.
Oh,
and it was all meant to be water damage and stuff like that and run down. Whereas Bioshock Infinite, it's kind of like not in the same vein. It's like not trying to do the same thing. It's trying to say, well, here's a city which is sort of like futuristic, but it's alive as well. It's full of people. That's the thing that confused me most. It was full of people.
Yeah.
And they're everywhere, and they're in shops selling you stuff, and do you know what I mean? Well, they don't sell you stuff, but do you know what I mean? They're working their shops and sweeping the road and being policemen and all the rest of it.
It feels like an alive city, which you didn't get that impression on 1 and 2.
Exactly, yeah. And because of that, the city doesn't look as run down as obviously, you know, Rapture did. It's called Columbia. Mm-hmm. The city looks like it's lived in. It looks like people are maintaining it. Little bit of weird physics going on, like, you know, like some houses would be just sort of floating nearby other houses, and you kind of go, well, how does he go to the shops then? Because he's just sort of floating there. There's no real sort of way connecting him, unless he's pretty brave and he jumps from building to building. How the fuck does he go to the shops? How does that work? So there was a few moments where I was like jumping from building to building and going, this is great if you can use the fucking like hooks and sky hooks and use the method of travel. But a lot of these people don't seem to have this.
Yeah.
They seem to just sort of walk about. It also plays a lot on like airships. You know, like the old sort of Zeppelin idea of airships, and then slightly bastardised to sort of make them modern but not.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it's a very pretty game. As for anything else graphically, the enemies don't really need to be that decent, really, for a shooter.
No, they usually aren't. They're not the main sort of thing you look at because you're too busy shooting them. So the main thing they focus on generally is the background and the sort of intimate detail that aren't the people. So no, that's understandable.
I mean, it does a lot with character animations. Like, for instance, if you shoot an enemy and kill him, or like a headshot or something like that, the enemy next to him will actually fall over in reaction to what you've just done.
That's a good idea.
There's small amount of animation in there, like people falling over. When there's a lot of that body physics, what's it called again?
Ragdoll physics.
That's it, ragdoll physics. There's a lot of that. And it can be annoying at times because obviously you try and loot dead enemies for ammo, because ammo's a big scarcity in the game.
Yeah.
And if you want to keep the same 2 weapons, if you're not bothered about swapping weapons every time you find one, then you're fine for ammo. If you're like me, where you take a shine to like 2 or 3 weapons and you want to keep the ammo for them,
you have to.
Yeah, you have to really scavenge. And there are also some sections of the game where you have to scavenge in order to get an item that you need. But if, because of ragdoll physics, you blow someone up and their body flies off the edge of the city boundary,
the ammunition or
you lose everything.
You scavenge,
So, and for the enemies that you need quest items for, obviously it doesn't do that. But for like everything else, it does.
Yeah.
And there are quite a few fights where you do fight like near the edge of a city or on a barge or something, where enemies do frequently just fall off. Some of the weapons are even designed to help you do that, and so are some of the abilities are designed to help you shoot people off the edge to conserve ammo.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does really the scenery does sort of play a part in the combat. It does do one thing. I'm not sure if you really want to talk about it in depth, because obviously it's part of the game mechanics, but it's also part of the game. You can conjure things into a combat zone, and by that mean you can like make cover appear where it wouldn't normally be, or you can make an automated gun appear.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not going to tell you how, but that the game does have that. So you can adjust the scenery in a limited fashion to benefit you.
Yeah.
In some cases, I think it's too strong. In some cases, it was way too easy to like keep summoning in automated guns to kill everyone.
Yeah, okay.
I did it in a few places because it kind of, like, say you summon in an automated gun and the NPC shoot it and it explodes. And you go, oh, all right, that's the end of that then. Well, no, unfortunately it isn't. If you make something else appear and then you hover back over to where that thing was, after a few seconds you can make it reappear again.
Okay, yeah.
So you can just keep swapping back and forth, as long as you keep the enemies off you.
Yeah.
You keep swapping back and forth and keep making sentry guns appear.
It's a bit OP in the end.
A little bit. Like it. By the end it stopped doing it, but like halfway through the game it was pretty heavy, and fuck me did I abuse it. I just seriously abused the crap out of it. So yeah, as for like the scenery and coming into the combat, it is good. You don't have any wall hugging, which I like. You wouldn't really have that in from a first-person shooter because it's not third party or third person. Sorry, third party. What the fuck am I about? So it's not third party sort of view. So you wouldn't have a lot, but you can use cover. You can do something as well, which annoys me in shooters. Say there's like a railing between you and the enemy, you can shoot through the railing and hit the enemy behind it. Yeah. The amount of times that in some shooters where the railing is actually a wall that's transparent. So you shoot the guy through some bars, he doesn't die, and you are confused because there's a big fucking square of air where there's actually a wall, it's just transparent. But it doesn't do that in this game. Yeah. So I didn't suffer from it. And because there's a lot of railings, as you imagine from a city in the sky, there's going to be a lot of railings. It meant that they didn't become an obstruct to the combat. As for the weapons, I think I said to you, there's about 8 weapons, I think, in total that are real weapons, and they come up as blue. And I think there are about like 6 red weapons, which are kind of like specialised versions of the normal weapons. But like they don't. I'm not sure how much they add, because a lot of this game kind of looks at people and says, right, what's your play style, and what's your play style, and what's your play style, and then they go, okay, well, we'll put something in for you. We'll put something in for you. We'll put something in for you.
Adapt to different people and the way they're going to play, which is a good thing.
Yeah. So it's trying to do that by giving you X amount of weapons, and it's also trying to give you it a little bit in specialising on the weapons to make them slightly more fun. But if you're like a seasoned first-person
sort of gamer,
gamer, you'll quite quickly find out which are the good weapons and just stick with them. Yeah. Which is what I did. I tried all the weapons. I found instantly which ones were the actual decent ones.
Yeah, the better ones. Yeah.
And I just stuck with it. I won't tell you which ones, but that's what I did. You can upgrade the weapons through in-game currency, 4 times for each weapon, including the specialised weapons. I'm not sure how much benefit you get from upgrading the specialised weapons when they give them to you so rarely.
You know, you were saying what the ammo for them or the actual availability of those is so scarce, it becomes a bit pointless.
Yeah, and you are really throwing money away, even if you really like it. Like, one of the weapons is called the heater gun. Yep. It's like basically a shotgun which sets your enemies on fire and also does some little fire effects. Now, that's cool. Yep. I mean, it's better than a shotgun, but it can only carry X amount of rounds. You are spending as much money to upgrade that as you are a shotgun, and there are shotguns everywhere. Yeah. So, what you're more like, and it has its own ammo. It's not like it can use shotgun ammo.
Yeah, exactly. If you could, that'd be great, kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, and through most of the game, I suppose if you picked it up at the beginning, through most of the game, it'd probably run out of ammo quite a lot. But there are vendors, very much in the same way that Bioshock had vendors.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
This game has vendors as well, so you could, in theory, just keep buying ammo for it at the different vendors. Sure. But then again, you're wasting money. Yeah. You're wasting money, which you could be spending on upgrading decent guns, or your abilities, which I'll get into in a minute. So there are other places to spend your money. Also, when you die, that also costs money. So, and if you're playing on a hard setting, you will die. It's no matter how good you are, you will die every now and again because the game's designed that way.
Yeah.
And it has a monetary advantage to not dying, but it also hits you hard when you do. It's not a massive cost, but it's always worth having a bit of money around just in case you do die.
Yeah.
There were a few times where I could have spent all my money on an upgrade, all the money I had, but then I didn't because I thought, well, if I die, I'm on zero. I'm on 0 credits. So you do have the option to upgrade the weapons, but like I said, you're probably only going to upgrade the weapons you use the most, and the weapons you use the most are probably going to be the best weapons in the game anyway.
Yeah.
There are some weapons in the game which I found completely useless.
Yeah. You were saying the machine gun was pretty much.
Yeah, the machine gun it gives you right at the beginning, and it is throughout the entire game, I found to be absolutely useless. Even when I upgraded it all 4 times. Yeah. It seemed like the harder enemies just absorbed the ammo out of it. Yeah. It was too difficult to use at any sort of range as well, without firing it in bursts. Yeah. And when it already does so little damage, firing it in bursts, you might as well pick up the ammo and throw it at them. Yeah. At this rate, it burned through ammo, and it was constantly empty. So I decided to stop using it. There were some weapons which I didn't get as much use out of as I probably could have because I used them a couple of times and thought, oh, this is great. But then I had to drop it because I didn't have any ammo for it. Yeah, sure. And then didn't think to pick it back up again. One of them being the hand cannon. That's another mid-game to end-game kind of weapon that appears in the sort of last third of the game. The hand cannon, pretty good. Short range.
You were saying that, yeah.
Far better than the shotgun, in fact, which is odd. Really.
You wouldn't think so, would you?
No, it was a genuinely good gun at close range. The other side of the combat, apart from the guns, is obviously the abilities, which is what makes Bioshock, really, are the sort of magical, gene-altering abilities that it seems to get. Now, they've gone from Adam...
Yeah, that's what they were in the first 2.
And they've moved over to salts. Okay. And tonics. Do you know, sort of like old-school Western...
Yep, I know what you mean, yep.
Yeah, and where they give you a tonic to cure anything that ails you.
Yep.
So, we have these tonics. There are... How many are there? About 8. Okay. Say I'm doing this all off the top of my head, obviously. I found 3 which were decent, and I pretty much ignored the rest.
Yeah, you were saying, yeah.
There was only one enemy. I spent money to get all 3 of them up, and then I found one enemy in the game which was absolutely beating me senseless. And then I found actually one of the abilities was OP against him, so I quickly upgraded that as well.
Just for this one particular situation,
just in case he appeared. So, but they're not relatively expensive to upgrade first because they have 2 upgrades each. But they also the upgrades aren't massively beneficial.
So what do the upgrades do then? Are they sort of decrease how much they use per time?
One of them. For definite, like one of the abilities, the first ability you get in the game, which I suppose I'll mention, is called Charm. It's the ability to charm sort of mechanical and human enemies into fighting for you. But it doesn't last very long on mechanical enemies. I was actually quite confused at first.
Yeah, I think on how it did on or off.
Well, no, if it's on or off. It's just I was confused with how long it lasts because. The first incarnation you get, when it's unupgraded, you can only use on mechanical enemies.
Understood, yeah.
So I would see, like, a gun turret, and I'd go, right, use my charm on the gun turret. Yeah. Now the gun turret's fighting for me. Right, so I'd stupidly turn my back to the gun turret and start fighting, and then the charm would wear off, and the thing would shoot me in the back and kill me. So I was like, so don't use that on mechanical enemies. Yeah. Because it's not that helpful. Unless you're just wanting to avoid having to be shot or don't want to waste the ammo fighting a turret which you can just walk past. Yeah. But then the first upgrade for it means you can use it on human enemies. Understood. Now, but obviously they can't just give you a charm ability which charms human enemies and have them all running around for you like a small army. Yeah. So after a certain amount of time, it wears off. But the person who you've done it on commits suicide.
Oh, okay. Right, yeah.
So he doesn't go back. Unlike the machines, he doesn't go back to being your enemy
Quite
again.
Useful as well, that. Yeah.
He just commits suicide. Yeah. And there was a few enemies where I was fighting, I was going, right, sod this. Right, you're, like, especially some of the enemies which are tougher and have got a lot of armour, Charm doesn't really care about armor,
No.
so it goes straight through their armor, makes them on your side, and
Insta-kill.
then you don't even kill. You don't even care that they're fighting for you.
Yeah.
You just want him to kill himself, so you don't have to waste your ammo on it. And the second upgrade for Charm is it reduces the amount of salts it costs to cast it.
Yep, that makes sense.
Because it is really expensive at the beginning.
Sure.
I think once you get to sort of the second real chapter of the game, that's when that upgrade is available, and I would recommend saving up the 1,600 coins it costs to get that and not spending money on anything else.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
I would say going straight for that, because for some reason in Chapter 2 it gave me the option to buy it.
Yeah.
In Chapter 3 it took that option away.
Yeah, sure.
And I had to wait until later in the game until it came round again, and I was really confused because I thought, well, now that it's in the shops I can buy it whenever. But for some reason that doesn't work. For some reason it went, oh no, you can't buy it from this one. You've got to go back.
Yeah, that's unusual. That's strange,
and you can't, because there is not a massive backtracking. There isn't a huge amount of backtracking when it comes to this game. There is a little bit in the areas that you're in, but when going back to previous chapters, you can't.
Yeah, I remember in Bioshock 1 you could pretty much travel everywhere near the end of the game from what I remember, so it's interesting you say that, yeah.
It's not as much of a open world. I think they did a good job, because I mentioned this to you, it is corridor fighting.
Yeah, sure.
It doesn't feel like it though, because you're fighting in streets and it's open and there's clouds and there's fucking stuff flying all around the place. It feels very open, but it's still basically corridor fighting.
Sure, that makes sense.
So, the idea of trawling back through the corridors you've already been through doesn't feel as nauseating.
That makes sense.
But when it closes off whole areas to you and doesn't let you go back there, it kind of takes a little bit away from you.
Yeah, it closes up that open world feel a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, very much so. The other, so we've covered the guns, and we've covered the abilities, the tonics. The only other aspect of the combat really is the skyline, which is this sort of rail network suspended in the air. And,
is that how you get from area to area then?
Not always.
Okay.
Not always. It's generally just used for combat.
Okay.
There are points of the game where you do have to travel around using it, but then generally in the same area, if you know what I mean. They're in each individual chapter. You'll never transgress from one chapter to the next on a skyline and be able to go back.
Yeah, makes sense.
They tend to be very enclosed, and a lot of them are simply part of the combat area.
Yeah.
In sort of these pre-scripted large fights.
Makes sense.
Where you'll get a horde of enemies, and you've got to survive them and get to the other side of whatever it is you're going for. And there'll be a rail network there, and you'll be able to just hook onto it and fly around. Now, I think this was the thing that they were promoting as this is why it's different.
The unique.
This is why it's not Rapture, because we have this sort of unique element of sky combat. Whizzing around on a hook on a monorail.
Yeah, sure.
I personally didn't find it that useful.
You were saying about combat.
From a shooter perspective, say if this was, I don't know, an RPG, a first-person RPG, like say Skyrim, or Fallout. Now I could see the benefit of something like this in a sort of big sandbox. Do you know what I mean? I could see the benefit of it as a travel system.
Yeah, it makes sense.
As a combat system, not so much.
Yeah.
At first, you go, oh, this is really fun. And then later on, you go, I'd rather just have my feet on the ground, aim and fire. The last side of combat, really, for this game, the thing that I enjoyed, the thing that made it unique for me, was the clothing system. And this is where it did turn. This is where it did turn into a bit of an RPG. You had 4 clothing slots. I think you had shoes, trousers, vest, and a hat.
Yeah.
And if you were a good explorer, as a lot of people are in these games, they acted like little Easter eggs.
Sure.
So you
don't military secrets kind of thing.
Yeah. You'd unlock a door. You would rummage around, look for ammo, and then you'd see a clothing package on the floor, and you'd pick it up, and it would give you something unique. Just off the top of my head, one of them, which I used for a little while, was like 25% of the time when you run out of ammo, your gun automatically reloads without having to do reload
time.
Which was very, very helpful for a lot of the game. And I only swapped it out when something even more useful came along.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something like, I just got 4 and then I was done.
Sure.
I did actively look at each one, think which one benefited my playstyle the most, and then equipped it.
Like you've said, a very much RPG style of finding
very,
equipment
very
and
much
stuff.
So. Yeah.
Nice little addition, definitely.
Yeah, so I actually found it very, very useful. It did conform more to the idea, sort of making a game unique to each individual, than probably any of the other elements in the game. So, and I'd say half all the clothing I found ended up gearing you up for making you better at melee.
Yeah, no, you're saying.
Or making you better at making your skyhook abilities better.
Yeah.
Like increasing accuracy.
Yeah.
Or making it so when you land on an enemy, he sets on fire.
Yeah. I mean, what you were saying, well, most of that are quite unique situations.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, most of the fighting in the game is corridor fighting. There's
sure.
These skylines only appear at certain parts of the game, generally in big fights.
Yeah, sure.
So, all the rest of the game, you're slogging your way through walls of enemies in different sections, going from one door to the next. Or, in one part of the game, is one big circle. It's literally a big circle. And you wander from one end of the circle round to the other end, and in one point you have to work your way all the way back again. So it's a bit of a problem there, I think. But like I said, you're just fighting from corridor to corridor, and there's not skyhooks. Why would you wear
Skyhook gear?
gear? It wasn't as easy to swap in and out of gear as you'd expect it to be. It meant going into the menu. It meant going into each individual one and then flicking through, finding one you want, equipping it, and then doing that 4 times.
It's like the addition without the RPG tools to make it easy to change or whatever. Yeah.
Because if I haven't mentioned it, I played it on the Xbox, but I imagine it wouldn't be any, more intuitive doing it on the PC either.
Yeah, sure.
So because you're flicking through and you're going, oh, that's the one I want. To do that just for one area, just to take advantage of the skyhooks.
Small percentage,
something which doesn't even change the combat all that much anyway, of point and shoot.
Yeah.
I didn't see the point. I didn't see the point of putting myself through that. And it would have just slowed down the game, like, ridiculously.
Having to constantly change it for each situation.
Yeah, so in the end, I just stuck with the ones that were good for general use.
Yeah.
And didn't bother swapping them out for these special occasions.
Makes sense.
The actual AI and the enemies that you fight, they're all pretty much what you'd expect from any other shooter. You have static enemies, such like gun turrets and things like that.
Sure.
Mobile enemies, some of which fight you at range, some of which fight you at melee.
Try and get close.
So and so they use the weapons that you use generally. So there's no, and every enemy is using what you've got.
Okay.
So there's no like stupid enemy which has got a stupid gun that you can't use. So which is quite good.
That's good. Yeah, no APA of extra enemy.
And nothing. I mean, the good example of it is when you played Halo 1, the original, and you'd fight the hunters, and they'd have fuel rods, and you couldn't use it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So none of that. Everybody. When they drop a gun, you can pick it up and use it.
That's good.
And in some parts of the game, because ammo is so scarce at certain sections of the game, you have to do that.
Yeah.
The vending machines that seem to disappear at certain parts of the game for a long time, and then suddenly they're back again. You've already lost the guns that you enjoyed using, and now you've stuck using a pistol and a fucking machine gun.
Scavenging whatever you can find.
So the enemies themselves, when it comes to the AI, not that bright. I mean, I played this on hard.
Would you normally think would give you a bit more AI or a bit more...
You think they use tactics a little bit more?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know whether that's testament to me as a gamer, or whether the AI just wasn't that challenging.
Sure.
I mean, I predominantly used the sniper rifle. Every shooter has to have a sniper rifle. This one's an exception. And any enemy at range was dead.
Yeah.
Just dead. Because the finger of death that is the sniper rifle would just pick them off.
Yeah, headshot done.
Headshot done. And they would run from side to side.
Yeah.
They would take a shot, run to one side, stop, take a shot. Now, I'm not a genius in military tactics, but even I could see the pattern.
Yeah.
And I even got to a point where I knew exactly how far they'd run. So I could just see where they were shooting at from, see what direction they went in, move my crosshairs to where they were going to stop, and then just shoot them as soon as they stopped. It was ridiculous in some places. They would literally just run into my ammo as I was firing in the same direction. There are tougher enemies.
You sure? What enemy replaces the sort of big daddy from the first game?
The big daddy is replaced by the handyman.
Oh, the handyman.
The handyman. Now, my God, was this frustrating. I eventually found the tactic to beating them, and once you know the tactic, they're very easy to beat.
Okay.
They are fast, they use melee attacks, and they've got range attacks. Don't think you can use the skyline because there's often a skyline around when you start fighting these guys. Don't think that that's going to save you.
Okay.
Because they electrify it if you get on it.
Fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not like you can avoid their intense speed and intense jumping abilities by using this faster than walk travel system.
Sure.
Because they'll electrify it and pretty much kill you if you just hang on to it. Which I found out once when I tried to get away from him and he electrified it and just outright killed me instantly. So that was fun. Yeah, they are insanely difficult to kill. The game kind of throws up these things every now and again with some enemies where it goes, aim for this because it's his weak spot and he takes more damage there. For most enemies, it's the head.
Yeah.
Some enemies have got different weak spots. But however you look at it, this thing, its weak spot is in the centre of its chest. But it's got these massive gorilla arms that swing around in front of its body. And,
it makes it very challenging.
It makes it incredibly insane to hit, unless you're using a rapid fire weapon.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a bullet through to hit him in the chest.
Yeah.
Unless you incapacitate him in some way, and that's part of the tactic of beating him. Is to temporarily incapacitate him so you can hit the chest. It uses up so much salts that it is difficult even when you know what you're doing. But yeah, my God, insanely difficult to beat. There was a lot of swearing at the telly at the death scene after he killed me for the nth time.
Yeah. So having to die 2 or 3 times just to keep coming back to eventually kill him.
Indeed, yeah. Talking about the death. When you die, you get to come back to life. I won't say how, because that's part of the story. You get to come back to life every time you die. The enemies themselves come back with more health than they had when you left them, basically.
Yeah. So you couldn't just cheat, come back and
go,
you
he couldn't be on 1% health and you come back and he's still on 1% health.
Yeah.
He'll be back to 50%. It's actually quite significant. However, you do come back with ammo for your weapons, whatever you've got equipped, and also more salts, because half your bar of salts. So in some cases, especially fighting handyman, it's not a bad tactic to blow all your ammo on him, blow all your salts on him, let him kill you, and then come back and do it again.
Just make sure you can kill him.
Yeah, because you'll kill him in 2 deaths.
Yeah.
If you use that tactic. And you'll do it far quicker than running around like an idiot.
Trying to find ammo or scavenge or whatever,
Very much so. But you don't understand how doggedly he heals you when you try and get away. He will be on you in an insane amount. So you really have to be careful with how you tackle him. And there are quite a few of them. So it's not like it's a one-off fight. There are quite a few of them. Aside from him, though, there's no real other enemy that's challenging, in my opinion.
Sure.
All the other enemies are pretty bog standard, what you'd expect. Don't really pose that much of a threat. Not as much of ammo absorbers
as the handyman.
Yeah. So that pretty much covers all of the combat in the game, and we've covered the aesthetics. The last thing I'm going to cover is the storyline.
Yeah, that's a question I asked.
Which I don't want to go into detail because obviously a lot of people play games for the story, including yourself.
Yeah, because I will play it and get the storyline, so don't want to spoil it.
So I'll talk about it loosely, in a loose fashion of looseness.
Descriptive, I like it.
It's good, isn't it? And I'll talk about the ending, because it's the ending that tears me. The whole story itself, as I discussed with you, it does kind of make a storyline problem. I consider a problem, is that it uses It uses certain sci-fi elements, which I kind of feel are a bit of a cop-out.
Yeah, to explain an area of the storyline which they can't think of a reasoning behind it.
I know for a fact that it was written into this storyline to be like that on purpose.
Okay.
But because I've seen it used so many times as a cop-out, it did feel a little bit like that.
Okay.
Elements of other dimensions or time travel. Those kind of elements in storylines. I kind of
Sci-fi 101.
Yeah, I kind of feel that they're not that imaginative.
Sure.
Because I kind of feel like the narrative isn't complete. Like they've purposely put this in there to cover a gap.
Yeah.
They couldn't write their way out of it.
Yeah.
So they made this gap.
Makes sense.
And I'm not sure that this game is doing that, but I still got that feeling.
Yeah, I think it's what you say from playing other games that have been guilty of it. You can't help but thinking when you play another game which uses those options. I know what you mean.
It did have some cool elements in it because of those things.
Okay.
I mean, in the story, which I really enjoyed because of those elements, but I couldn't shake that feeling.
Okay.
And the ending itself really aggravated me.
Sure.
Even though I enjoyed it, which is a hard thing to say. And I'll go through it again, because I've already said this too.
Sure.
Right. This is a first-person shooter.
Yeah, we were discussing previous first-person shooter games, what we think is the standard formula for a first-person shooter in terms of the ending.
Now, I'm not saying that games can't...
Break away from the norm.
Yeah, they can't use their initiative. I'm not saying games can't do that.
No.
However, there are some popular themes, and they're popular because people like them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not that they're popular because everyone keeps using them. They're popular because people like them.
Yeah.
Like, as much as I dislike Call of Duty, right, it is popular because people like it.
Yeah.
Even if I don't.
Yeah. It's got a certain script, certain methodology, cinema effect or cinematic experience is kind of something they're portraying in, and I understand what you're saying.
I mean, even though it doesn't appeal to me personally, I can understand if something is popular, I can understand why it's popular.
Sure.
I mean, it's nothing to do with it being forced on the public and them accepting it like some sort of whore.
Yeah.
It is because that's what they want, and people are giving other people what they want. It's the point of business. But I feel this shooter has broken away
from the normality.
And I, sir, didn't approve.
Yeah, what were you saying?
And I'll tell you why without ruining it.
Yeah, I think that's
Now, in most shooters, you have a baddie or baddies, and you work your way
to the final baddie.
Baddie, and even if he isn't the guy you've been chasing, or whether it's some creation of his or whatever. I mean, look at Borderlands.
Yep.
Now, at the end of Borderlands, you fight. Borderlands 2, you fight a giant dog thing. But you've been working your way towards it.
Yeah, the enemy's been around, the evil person's been around.
I mean, even if it doesn't explain to you who the bad guy is on day one, once you get near the end of the game, you should know what you're going to be facing.
Yeah.
But in this game, there is no baddie at the end.
No.
You have a big fight, and then you have a load of plot. You have a load of story. It's like... And it's a very strange way of ending a game.
Sure. I think the way you put it was very good. It's a very good sort of cinema way of telling a story, very good telling a story in a book or a TV show, but it doesn't fit a game.
No, it does not fit a game. I don't think personally that it does. It's like they've taken all the loose ends that they've built up in the game, and they fire them all off like fireworks right at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, without ruining it, at the end of the game, you don't do anything.
Yeah, you're saying it's not in a cutscene format, you're actually sort of controlling...
You're still controlling the character.
Yeah.
You have no abilities, you've got no weapons, you're literally just walking forward.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you're doing while people speak to you, or while, the other character speaks to you, and where they just finish the plot at you, tie up all the loose ends, and then end the game.
Sure.
And it's kind of felt like an anticlimax.
Yeah, which is frustrating, yeah.
Because I was fighting stuff, and I was killing stuff, and there's explosions everywhere, and then it stops, the world goes calm, you walk around for a bit, people chat at you, talking heads, and then the game ends. And although, like, from a storytelling perspective,
it works.
I like it. I like how it concludes the story. I like how it ties everything up, and I like
the storyline ending
is
good, but it doesn't you don't like the way it delivers that.
I just don't like the fact that it's robbed me of my final victory.
Yeah,
it's robbed me of being the guy who ran up to the enemy and shot him in the face and he died.
Yeah, that's
and you don't get that high from killing the bad guy. You don't get the high from killing the guy at the end or stopping whatever it is you're stopping. You don't get that high.
Yeah.
All you get is some talking heads.
Yeah,
after intense fighting.
Yeah.
And
anticlimax.
And it really tears it for me.
Yeah.
It really does tear it for me because I'm a person who does like their books. I do like my TV. I do like my films, and I do like my storytelling.
Sure.
But that's not all I'm looking for in a computer game. I'm looking for interactive storytelling. And now having a bit at the end, which is not interactive, walking forward is not interactive.
No, not at all.
They could have delivered the whole thing in one long cutscene.
Yeah.
Like the end of Mass Effect.
Yeah.
They could have done it like that.
Yeah.
You know, there was no requirement for me to be controlling the character at that point, but for some reason they still felt I should, and it was almost misleading because I was thinking something's going to happen any minute.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
something's going to happen any minute because I'm controlling the character. I'm still in control of the game.
Yeah,
you know, the game hasn't stopped. The game is still going. You know, even though the game has stopped, but it doesn't feel like that. So you're walking along, listening to all this stuff, going right. I'm going to be doing something any minute now.
Yeah.
Any minute now.
Keeps delivering, yeah.
And it just goes, no, we're done. You're done. Here's the credits. And it was very disappointing. From a game.
That was a shame, yeah.
From a game, it was very disappointing. So, like I said, the ending does tear me.
So that adds a bit of a negative spin on it.
It does, yeah. And I suppose, I think I probably played it the worst way as well. Is I did the majority of the game in 2 evenings, and then I did the very last bit of the game
in one sitting. Yeah,
and so, you know, I just had that literally end of the game sort of without the rest of the game to back it up.
Yeah, sort of lost that initial connection from the day before. Yeah,
you know, because I was thinking, I'll you know, because I didn't know when it was going to end.
No, sure.
So I failed this big fight a couple of times, and I thought, sod that, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm obviously like too much into this. I need to relax, come back at it again with a fresh mind. And this is what I did. I came back again with a fresh mind, ready to go. Did the last fight, boom, game's over, and I was like, oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Now, and I'll be honest, it doesn't cliffhanger either.
No, it doesn't open up for another game then.
Not really. Not unless they do something really drastic.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying they couldn't.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it would be very satisfying.
Sure.
Because they've got a season pass.
Yeah.
You know, like
most modern games where, like, for additional content, you buy actually all your content packs.
Yeah, true. And they also have a part of the season. Part of the season pack is this idea that, you know, like Borderlands, where you can buy. In advance, the next 3 DLCs that are coming out. But you buy it now, and you get benefits for buying it now.
Yeah.
I don't recommend that, by the way.
Yeah.
But this is what they've added.
Yeah, sure.
Because, you know, if you get to the end of the game and you go, I really like that, and I'm going to like the next DLCs, and you've pretty much pre-ordered them and paid for them, and you've not even seen them, you don't even know what they're about.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know, they could be awful. But they've already got your money, and you don't get a refund off that. So I think it's a terrible idea, and I wouldn't recommend. Yeah,
more and more games are doing it now. That's the problem.
I'd never buy anything which you haven't seen yet. It's a good rule of thumb for buying anything, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've realised that there's DLC I've bought for multiplayer packs, never played the game anymore, or seen the first one. Is that all I'm getting? Some multiplayer maps, and then. You know, it's been a waste of X amount of points or money, so I know where you're coming.
With these DLCs, though, when it comes to the story, I'm not sure I'm going to shoehorn them in.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what they do. It sounds like, you know, you've got a very much fixed ending. They're giving you DLC, but not really describing what the DLC is. It could be single-player stuff, but how they're going to cram that into the storyline could be interesting.
I mean, off the top of my head, I would say that they're probably going to go down the route of playing other characters.
Yeah, within the universe, that makes sense.
Yeah. Or maybe a new character.
Sure.
because obviously with a lack of a cliffhanger ending, you won't be playing the character you've been playing so far unless they do something really dramatic to basically nullify that ending.
Yep.
Because that's what they'd have to do. They'd have to nullify the ending of the main game in order to keep in order to have the main character in the DLC.
Sure.
So it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. I'm interested to see what they do.
Yeah, but like you said, see what the first DLC content is and then make a judgment from there, really.
Probably a good idea. And that's it, really. That's the whole game.
Would you give it a score, or would you just sort of...
I don't really give games scores,
no.
really. I mean, my scores are generally good or shit or alright.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I would say that it's a good shooter.
Yeah.
It's got a great story to it. It has a few points that let it down, which we've discussed.
Yeah.
But overall, I would say it's a great Bioshock game. I don't think it's better.
No, it
than
stands
Bioshock
up compared to Bioshock 1. I think that's the important thing.
I mean, it's better than Bioshock 2.
Yeah.
Although I didn't hate on Bioshock 2 as much as some people.
Yeah.
But it is better than Bioshock 2. And it's comparable to Bioshock 1.
That makes sense.
But I don't feel that it's really added anything to this sort of series of games.
Understood.
I don't think it's adding anything extra. I think it's just more of the same, which is not a bad thing.
No.
Because
I think they've bring it into the skies, added some innovations, some new mechanics, some new ideas, but it still fundamentally feels like Bioshock.
It does, yeah. And I'll be honest, I think what a lot of game companies get wrong is, when it comes to sequels, is fans like the last thing you gave them.
Yeah, don't fix what ain't broken.
And they come up to, sequels with the idea of, I want more of the same.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I felt Darksiders 2 let itself down, because it wasn't more of the same.
Yeah.
I liked Darksiders 1. I bought Darksiders 2. It's a different game. Why has it got the word Darksiders on it? This isn't Darksiders. This isn't what I played.
No.
So how can it be a sequel to what I played?
Yeah.
And do you know what I mean? And but Bioshock is delivering on that front. They're giving you
good.
More of the same. So if you liked what you've previously done,
if you liked 1
this.
and 2, you liked, yeah, makes sense.
And that's probably one of the big ticks in its box, I think, when it comes to its design and its format.
Implementation, good stuff.
So, you got anything more to say?
No, I think that's it. It sounds like a very good overview of the game in general.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot. Well, this concludes this episode of Fireside Chats. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe, and thank you for joining us.